addiction problems, and you might think Brooklyn Guy is only addicted to a few things, but Brooklyn Guy actually has a serious addiction problem, some of which have gotten so bad to the point that they ruined Brooklyn Guy's life forever. But first, let's start with a not so bad addiction, which is working. And as we know, Brooklyn Guy has so many jobs, such as being a cop, doctor, firefighter, chef, and lawyer, and pretty much any job you can name, he has it. He was even a translator for the Hong Kong Police Department. And in SML movie Bowser Jr.'s 21st birthday, during a meeting named Addictions Anonymous, where people such as Shrek and Marvin went there to talk about their addictions, which was supposed to help them overcome them, Brooklyn Guy starts off by mentioning that he's a workaholic, which means that he's addicted to working. And Brooklyn Guy says he doesn't know if it's because he likes working or if he just wants to stay away from his wife Karen, but he at least knows that he's a workaholic.
Alright everybody, my name is Brooklyn Guy and welcome to AA, Addictions Anonymous. Everybody here is addicted to something. That's okay, we're not gonna judge, alright? We're all weirdos here. Like me, I'm a workaholic. That means I'm addicted to working. I have a whole bunch of jobs and I apply for new ones every day. Now I don't know if that's because I want to get away from my wife or what, but that's my addiction.
And this addiction isn't as bad as other addictions that I'm going to mention later in this video, but with all these jobs, it means that Brooklyn Guy is making a good amount of money. And since all of his jobs probably pay a minimum of $70,000 or more every single year on average, that means he should be a millionaire with all the jobs he has. But the reason he's not rich is probably because of his next addiction, which is real, and that's gambling. As seen in SML movie Rich Brooklyn Guy comes in telling Mario that he's no longer a doctor and that he's rich because in a previous video he bet his entire life savings on the Super Bowl that the Buccaneers would win, which ended up happening, making Brooklyn Guy rich.
Well, I called a doctor.
Well, that's too bad because I'm not a doctor anymore. That ship has sailed like the yacht that I just bought.
You bought a yacht?
Yeah, hey Mario, ask me what time it is.
What time is it?
Oh, I don't know. Let me just check one of my 2 Rolexes that I now have. What do you want, East Coast time or West Coast time?
Why are you so rich?
Well, remember I said I bet all my life savings on the Super Bowl that the Buccaneers would win?
Yeah.
Well, they did. Thank you, Tom Brady. So now I'm a millionaire.
You're a millionaire?
Yep, and I quit all my jobs.
Every single one of your jobs?
Every single one. I quit being a doctor right in the middle of a surgery.
And then he calls his former chief to tell him that he's quitting being a cop. However, he would soon come to regret this. And Marvin wanted Brooklyn Guy to start working again as a doctor so that he can help Rose and Jeffy, who got stuck together because Jeffy put Gorilla Glue on his head thinking it was shampoo, which is actually a reference to a real life situation, but we're not going to talk about that. And then Mario asks Brooklyn Guy if he wants to go gambling, which he then agrees and goes to Goodman's Portable Casino.
Oh, well, buddy, I was thinking we can go gambling.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome. Honey, get all of our money out in gold. Let's go gambling.
Okay, Barney!
Awesome.
Welcome to Goodman's Portable Casino, where I bring the casino to you and the house always wins.
All right, I'm ready to gamble.
Which just goes to show the friends you have can actually be worse for your addictions. If you're ever dealing with anything and your friends are also doing the same thing and they start to push you, that can actually be your downfall. Just how Mario pushed Brooklyn Guy to gamble and lose all of his money. Think of how good Brooklyn Guy's life could have been. But anyway, at the casino, Mario gets Brooklyn Guy to bet all of his money and wins his first try and also on his second time. But on the last spin, he tells Marvin that he can have the winnings with Marvin because he's the reason that he doubled his money. And when Marvin hears that, he tries to stop Brooklyn Guy then. But because he won all the money in the past, he's positive that he'll win the last spin. However, nobody is that lucky to get 3 spins in a row, and Brooklyn Guy loses all of his money, accessories, and pride.
Come on, baby. Come on, 12. Come on, Brady. I need Brady.
If he wins again, I'm going bankrupt.
And this addiction is, of course, one of the worst on the list because of how addicting gambling is, with most people not knowing when to stop, and it led to them losing a lot of money. And even for Brooklyn Guy, it made him rich, but because he kept doing it, he ended up losing all of his money, which shows the problem with gambling and shows never to get greedy, because greed is what causes the downfall of all gamblers' lives around the world. I'm sure you guys have heard stories. This next addiction is what happens every single time Brooklyn Guy is stressed or tired declared, and that is drinking. And an example of this is an SML movie, The Life of Brooklyn Guy, where Brooklyn Guy can't sleep because Karen is all over him, but he wakes up immediately after he hears his alarm and gets ready for work. And as usual, Karen annoys him while he's trying to prepare, and he asks Karen what she's gonna make, and she gives him 2 Lunchables, making excuses for why she couldn't make Brooklyn Guy's food.
Alright, Karen, I gotta go to work. What's for breakfast?
Well, Boydie, you know I woke up late, so
Like you always do.
I wasn't able to make you your favorite breakfast.
Never have.
So I went to the gas station and got you a Lunchable, ham and cheese.
Ham and cheese, huh? Alright, well, what'd you pack me for my lunch?
Well, again, Boydie, I woke up late.
You always
so,
do.
at the gas station, I got you another Lunchable, ham and cheese.
You know, Karen, I really appreciate how much effort you put into my meals every day.
And he decides not to take them, and he goes to the hospital. And while he's about to perform surgery on Harold, he gets a call from Junior saying he needs help because Chef Pee Pee burned food again. But he found out that it was just a waste of time and wasn't an emergency. But when he comes back to the hospital, he found Mark, and he finds out that Mark performed the patient's surgery, and then they go back and forth until Brooklyn Guy ends up punching him in the face. And when Brooklyn Guy goes back home, he finds out that Karen ate the Lunchables and burned his lasagna, which is probably karma for punching Mark. And at the end of the day, Brooklyn Guy goes back to bed but is annoyed by Karen trying to tell him about her day. And the cycle repeats, showing what a day in Brooklyn Guy's life looks like, which, not gonna lie, looks pretty sad. And in this video, Brooklyn Guy is seen with his beer whenever he's home and seems to drink it a lot, somehow as a way to relax. And in SML movie Brooklyn Guy's Adult Game Night, while playing Stir the Pot, Brooklyn Guy and Karen use the cards to describe themselves, and it gets to a point that Brooklyn Guy starts to excessively drink while arguing with his wife Karen.
Okay, I'm back.
Aw, Boydie, you brought a beer for everyone?
Good joke, Karen. You should be a comedian. No, these are all from me.
Well, I went ahead and picked out the next game. It's called Spin the Dare. And you spin the arrow, whoever it lands on picks up a card, and they have to do the dare.
Okay, cool.
Well, I'm gonna spin to go first.
Well, it doesn't matter who spins first, Karen. It doesn't even matter who spins as long as it's whoever it lands on.
Boydie, it's my birthday. I'm spinning first.
And afterward, Brooklyn Guy gets more than 1 beer, showing that he's so addicted to alcohol that he needs it whenever he's near Karen. And it proves that maybe their relationship is a factor of why Brooklyn Guy drinks so much, using it as a way to escape from the real world because he's not strong enough to deal with his problems. And probably also drinks a lot just to deal with going to work, which he doesn't really seem to love, as seen in SML movie The Life of Brooklyn Guy. Which also answers the question that Brooklyn Guy doesn't love to work, but probably works as an excuse so that he can leave the house and be away from Karen. However, drinking is never a good thing and is insanely bad for your health if you drink too much, which means that Brooklyn Guy probably has liver disease, cardiovascular issues, neurological disorders, and an increased risk of cancer. And we can't lose Brooklyn Guy. He's like one of the only good characters still in SML, so we definitely can't have him excessively drinking. And the last addiction literally ruined Brooklyn Guy's life and is the reason for him not having legs. And his last addiction is an SML movie, Jevy's Voice Problem, where Brooklyn Guy explains that he was the king of kicking people in their nuts.
Me, how I know.
How do you know?
Well, when I was younger, I was the king at kicking people in the nuts.
You don't have legs.
Exactly, and this is the story of how I lost my legs.
And tells the story that in high school, during PE class, he was playing a game of kickball. But Brooklyn Guy never heard of kickball and confused it as an obstacle, so he ran to someone and kicked them in the nut. And for some reason, Brooklyn Guy found kicking people in the nuts to be satisfying and started to be addicted to kicking people in the nuts. And so he did it to everyone in PE, even his own teacher, and got the nickname Ballbuster Brooklyn. And then he's sent to the principal office where he gets suspended for kicking people in the nuts, but then he kicks his principal in the nuts. And when the cops arrive to arrest him, Brooklyn Guy kicks them in the nuts, and in jail he still keeps kicking people in the nuts, which caused him to be sent to the electric chair. But then he kicked Pooby the executor in his nut, and Brooklyn Guy even kicked his dad in his nuts when he tried to ground him for kicking people in the nuts, which caused him to be sent to a therapist to find out why he was kicking people in the nuts. And of course, Brooklyn Guy kicked his therapist in the nuts, and it got to the point where his legs had to be tied up for the number of times he was kicking people in the nuts. How can Brooklyn Guy kick people in the nuts if he doesn't have legs? Well, in the past, Brooklyn Guy used to have legs, but the reason for him not having legs now is because everyone who was kicked in the nuts by Brooklyn Guy decided that the only way for Brooklyn Guy to stop was to amputate his leg, which was life-changing, as now he doesn't have legs because of this situation. And this shows that all of his addictions are actually affecting Brooklyn Guy. With all seriousness, being a workaholic, which is shown to be mentally draining for him, obviously everyone needs to work, but doing it 24/7 and getting 2 minutes of sleep is never healthy, especially especially when he gets calls from people who don't even have a good reason to call him and it just wastes his time. And his addictions are getting so bad that it's not only affecting him, but everyone around him, who I believe definitely want to see him get better and are worried about him because he overstresses himself. And honestly, this video is not only meant to talk about Brooklyn Guy's addictions, but also to raise awareness about actual addiction. You might feel a kick of joy like Brooklyn Guy did gambling or drinking or working to be away from his wife, but you do have to acknowledge and accept the need for change if it has gotten to the point where it hurts you or those around you. First of all, don't listen to my advice above everyone else. Seek professional help such as doctors, therapists, addiction specialists who are great at their job to support you when it comes to addiction. You'll also definitely need to surround yourself with positive people who believe in you and your recovery. Remember when Marvin's told Brooklyn Guy to go gamble and he lost all of his money? It is good to keep good people around you and to either try and help the bad people around you or politely say, hey, I just need a bit of space to work on myself. And that's never a bad thing. Or if they have the same problem as you, it's better to do it together, hold each other accountable, and whoever is out there listening to this, I believe you and I know you can overcome it. And if you do believe, turn to God and he'll be able to help you. But let me know down in the comments if you have any advice for Brooklyn Guy, or if you do have an addiction, maybe say it down in the comments. I know this is an SML theory channel, but for this video, I'm gonna check the comments and see what you guys are saying. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and click on this video here.